Welcome to Gold Derby. I'm senior editor Denton Davidson here with actress, singer, best-selling author, and the artist formerly known as Royal Knight on The Masked Singer, Jana Kramer. Jana, your clues were very sad, but things are going great for you. How much fun was it to put on that Royal Knight armor and sing on stage?
It was so much fun. I had a blast. Yeah, the clues were a bit sad, but I mean they were the unfortunate truth, which I think made the costume be what it was. And it felt great to armor up and to go out there and sing and just prove that, you can get through some tough times and still go out there and fight and have fun and love.
And you had a tough group. Are you competitive? Like, were you disappointed you didn't get to the quarterfinals, or like, what was that like?
I pretty much knew I wasn't going to make it to the quarterfinals and I was okay with it. Like my whole thing was like and I've said this like all the time. I know I'm not the best singer. And I say that all the time. I was surprised that I how well I did. But I also like when I was hearing the other contestants singing because you can hear them, obviously during sound check and for the show day. And I was just like, oh yeah, I'm definitely not gonna go like make it all the way, which was, I'm very competitive. So it's like, okay, I need to maybe rearrange my songs or change this. And I'm just like, no, like just again, go out there and have fun. And that's exactly what I did. So, I knew I wasn't my kind of thing too, and this is how I was, like we were filming in Los Angeles if I knew I wasn't going to go all the way, so I'm like, let's just get in a couple episodes and then get me back home to my babies. This was kind of like my mindset with it because I knew I wasn't going to win. So I'm like, let's just go out there, go have fun, and then like get home in time to see my babies.
What did you think of the panelists' guesses? Because some of the names were like Kelly Ripa, Anna Faris, Hayden Panettiere, Amanda Seyfried, Lily
Yep.
James. They were all over the place. So, what were you thinking as those names were coming at you?
At first I was like, man, they're gonna be really disappointed when it's just me, but it was
No.
like, it was fun. I mean, when Jenny finally guessed me, and I knew she would once she saw the podcast clue, and she was just on my podcast. We were just talking about all of these things, living in Nashville, hard times and stuff like that. So I definitely knew, I knew she would get me in that last one, but yeah, I was honored, flattered, and especially in the comment section, after the show, I was kind of like, I usually try to stay away from comment sections because they're not good for my mental health. But with this, I was like, well, let's just go and see what people thought. And then I was shocked that so many people guessed me. So I was like, okay. And then some of the other clues, I was like, wait, Faith Hill, Martina McBride, like those are insane singers. So I was like, oh, thank you.
Well, I mean, you've been acting and singing for so long. The success for acting sort of came a little earlier for you. You had a part on one of my favorite shows of all time, Friday Night Lights, and then of
I
course,
love that show.
One Tree Hill. And so, what was it like pursuing both? Like, were you pushing harder for acting, or were you trying to do both? What was that like as a young artist coming up?
It's interesting because I didn't think like I loved music, but I knew like I didn't have like the best voice. And so the only way that I got my record deal was because I was on One Tree Hill. And when I was on that show, I was like, okay, let me try to pursue the music a little bit. And it was interesting because I had seen people do both. But yet for a female, at that time, they're like, oh, you can't do both. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, but he can, like, this artist can do both, but why can't I? And they're like, well, because you're an actress. And so country radio isn't going to believe you if you continue to act. So you really need to stop acting. So my label made me leave the last season of One Tree Hill to do my radio tour. And I was like, okay, so I kind of gave up the acting for a bit and then I realized I'm like, wait a minute, like I love acting. Acting's probably my number one. So I'm like, I don't want it. Like, yes, I enjoyed the last 5 years of touring and all these things, but I'm like, that's not really like, I wanted to do both and I wasn't able to. And so that's when I turned things around and just, took control in my own hands and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do both and I'm gonna try and do it my way. And so, you know, I, I've enjoyed that road and but I truly I love singing. I love being on stage. Like I doing the Masked Singer made me realize how much I miss being on stage. But there's nothing better than being on set and, doing that too. So
And who were your biggest musical influences growing up? Who did you listen to? Who was your favorite as a kid?
to this day, it's still, I'm gonna listen to them as kids too, but Patsy Cline, James Taylor, the Eagles, I loved those were probably my top three. And then now it's changed a bit. I don't, honestly, I still listen to them. But now it's really like my kids, whatever they're listening to, which is, a whole other story. But
Well, you got
woof.
to cover
Um,
Madonna, Lady Gaga,
yeah.
Miley Cyrus. Did you have a
Um,
favorite performance from the show?
Probably When I Look at You, because I got to dedicate that one to my husband. And so that was a sweet one. And I didn't even know that song, to be honest with you. I love Miley Cyrus, but that was one song that I wasn't too familiar with. So I was a little worried at first if could even hit some of those notes in there, but we lowered the key significantly, and it made me really yeah, I always knew Miley was a good singer, but when I was actually trying to sing one of her songs, I was like, damn, this girl has range and she's got like, this is insane. So I have like so much more appreciation for her and like her musical talent because I'm like, girl can like get some high notes. So, and I'm like, I had to lower it. I mean, literally like three levels down. So
It was a great performance, though.
thank you.
And your masked ambassador was Savannah Chrisley, the Afghan hound. What was
Oh,
the
bless.
connection there, and how did you and what was it like finding out she would be your masked ambassador?
I love her. She's so sweet. I've known her for a long time. We've been friends for a while. We both live in Nashville, and I knew she was on the show. We watched her on the show, and what I loved about her performances too is that she had a lot of fun with it, and that's kind of what she said. She's like, it's a really fun show. Like, have a blast. And so it was good to connect with her again and thank her for doing that.
And you released the song Warrior this year. What's is there going to be more that fans can expect? What's Are you releasing more music? What's
I
next
mean,
for you?
I'm like, I've got a couple movies that I'm filming next year, which I can't say yet because they haven't been announced yet. So yeah, lots of acting. And then, I've got a song that I wrote with Lee Bryce and Jared Neiman and his wife, Sarah Bryce, who's a dear, dear friend of mine. So I'll put that out next year. That's called Heart Shift. And yeah, so, and then I got the podcast running and influencing who knows what on Instagram. So it's like just supporting my babies and having fun.
Well, it was so much fun to see you on The Masked Singer as Royal Knight, and thanks for chatting with Gold Derby today.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.